Hello and welcome. So today we are finally here to discuss the two latest launches from Maison Asrar. These are Vanilla Aura and Vanilla Seduction. Now, these are not just your regular vanilla fragrances, because the thing about them is that they have been allegedly inspired, as in they will most likely remind you of two very iconic fragrances that are also, of course, vanilla-centric. One is from Guerlain and the other one is from KHADLAJ. Now, today we're going to have a really good conversation as I provide, of course, a detailed review for you. And I will give you some comparisons to the fragrances that they were allegedly inspired by. So let's go ahead and get started. But before we do so, if this is your first time here, I'm Arahi, and I'm your fragrance concierge because I'm totally committed to creating the best fragrance experience for you. I upload videos multiple times a week, and on this channel, we love to talk about all types of fragrances. So if that sounds like the type of content that you're interested in, and like a good plan, then please consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget, leave a comment. Let's go. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And before we do, I just want to let you know that I did receive both of these fragrances in PR. Now, the first one that I want to talk about is definitely Vanilla Aura, because this is the one that has caused the most. When I tell you the most buzz, I'm pretty sure that this one is already pretty viral. And here is the gorgeous bottle. Before I forget to show it to you. Very nice. The bottle does feel quite luxurious and weighty when you hold it. And the cap, even though it is made of some sort of a plastic material, does not feel cheap. Now, you guys know how much, if you've been with me for a while, you guys know how much I enjoy Maison Asrar fragrances. I think I've only had one fragrance in the many Maison Asrar fragrances that I've tried that did not work well with me. But let's talk in detail about this fragrance, because the thing about it is that it has been allegedly inspired, or it should remind you of a fragrance from Guerlain, which is Vanilla Planifolia 21. Now, Vanilla Planifolia 21 is a very, very pricey fragrance, and it is truly all about the note of vanilla. The vanilla is not only the star, but it is quite dominant. It is all about the vanilla. Very much like what you find in Vanilla Aura. But I will tell you that there are differences between these fragrances. And I'm just going to tell you my story. I'm going to share with you my experience. I am going to walk you through the olfactory journey of this fragrance. And towards the end, I am going to give you a comparison between both fragrances so that you can decide if this is one that you want to try. So let me just start by saying that when I first, of course, received both of these fragrances, the first thing I did is what I always tell you to do. I went outside of my home and I sprayed both bottles a minimum of 8 times to make sure that, I cleared like the straw of the mechanism, of the spray mechanism. So I went ahead and I did that. When I did that, I always like sniff it just to make sure. And when I did, it was not reminding me of Vanilla Planifolia whatsoever. Okay. But I did put it away. I let it sit for a couple of days and then I picked it up again. And when I sprayed this fragrance, it did not immediately remind me whatsoever of Vanilla Planifolia 21. It really did not whatsoever. But once I, applied it on skin and I started to really analyze, what I discovered, bottom line, is that the olfactory journey of this fragrance is not the same as what you get from the OG or from the one that it should allegedly remind you of. The olfactory journey is not the same, but I am going to tell you from the get-go that although the olfactory journey is very different, all the way from opening to dry down, curiously enough, at dry down, you are going to get about 85% of the OG in this fragrance. Truly. I don't know how it was done. Remember, this one has not had a chance to sit, but it is already performing right out of the box. So let's go ahead and talk in detail about Vanilla Aura. So when it comes to Vanilla Aura, the opening is citrusy. But in addition to that citrusy opening, there is a presence, there is a floral presence, but the floral presence is quite faint. I would say that in the opening, you do pick up the vanilla, but the vanilla is also a bit faint. Less faint than the florals, but definitely faint. The florals that I pick up in the opening are definitely white florals, but it's more of like a bouquet for me. It's not about one specific floral. To my nose and on my skin and on paper, by the way, it is more about a bouquet of white florals. As the journey continues, I start to pick up clearly, okay, on a note of dark chocolate. That is a game changer right there, because that is not a note that I was expecting to pick up, because I was hoping that I would immediately be able to, identify this scent as a scent very much of the OG, right? But no. Almost like, I would say like a couple of minutes into the opening, I start to pick up on a very faint dark chocolate note. It's not a bitter dark chocolate, but it is definitely a dark chocolate. There is a sweetness to the fragrance, but at this point, the scent is not very sweet. Now, as the journey continues, the vanilla does intensify, but always with those florals in the backdrop and that dark chocolate in the backdrop, both kind of faint. But the chocolate, as you approach the dry down, will intensify. But as you continue the journey and as you're approaching the dry down, you are going to notice that the scent has become quite ambery. It is sweet, not a little bit sweet like it was in the beginning. It is sweet, not sickly sweet, but it is sweet. The scent is very ambery. The vanilla is very dominant and present. And you are going to find that that chocolate note now has become less faint. It has intensified, giving way clearly for you to pick up on the dark chocolate. Again, the dark chocolate is not bitter. It's not super sweet. It's not in a dominant role in any kind of way, but it is definitely a present note. Now at the dry down, when you get to the dry down, I don't know what magic happens here. But let me tell you, I pick up on the tonka clearly because I get like a vanillic, caramelly kind of effect to that vanilla that I was picking up all along. The florals will still be present, but quite faint, very faint in the backdrop. To me, the florals here are like non-relevant, but they're always faint in the backdrop. And at the dry down, they are really, really faint, but you're going to kind of pick up on them, but it's really not about that. Now at the dry down, the chocolate, the dark chocolate is present. It is very, very, very faint, almost non-existent. I picked up on it because I was looking for it, because it was with me all throughout the olfactory journey. And all of a sudden at the dry down, I'm not quite able to pick up on the dark chocolate clearly. What I am getting is a beautiful, beautiful vanilla scent that does remind me and immediately reminds me at the dry down. When I tested them side by side, I was getting 85%, and we'll talk about the differences in a minute, 85% the original scent. So it was definitely reminding me of that Guerlain fragrance to the tune of 85%. Now at the dry down, you are also going to notice that the scent is indeed very ambery, but although it is very ambery, the vanilla is still the star. There is a presence of the tonka with that kind of like warmth and caramelly, and kind of also wanting to give you hints of like a spiciness to it. But I don't think there's necessarily a spice here. I just think that the tonka does its thing. But inevitably at the dry down, that is what you're going to get. An exquisitely beautiful amber scent that has vanilla as its centric note, extremely dominant. It is sweet, it is ambery, it has a floral presence that is quite, faint in the backdrop, and it definitely has that chocolate in the backdrop. I don't pick up anything else, but that is clearly what I get. And at that, interestingly enough, it is giving me to the tune of 85% the Guerlain fragrance. Vanilla Aura on my skin is performing very, very nicely because it is giving me a full day wear to the tune of like 7 hours, no more than that, without having to overspray or respray. To me, this is very much a unisex fragrance that does lean to the feminine side. To me, this one leans more to the feminine side than what I find in the original. But can I imagine a gent wearing this vanilla scent? Absolutely. Because for me, it is truly one that can be pulled off by a gent or a lady. But if you ask me which side, to which side I think it really leans, I think it does lean a tad to the feminine side. Now, this is a scent that I think you can wear during the fall, the winter, and the spring seasons. You may want to try it during the summer and see if on your skin you can get away with it. I personally know that I would not be pulling it on a very hot summer day. If it is an unusually, not cool summer day, but, not so hot summer day, I would pull it and wear it. But for me, this is perfection for cooler weather. This is definitely a scent that you could make your signature, fragrance. You could take it to the office. You could do just about anything with it because I think that it is very versatile. You could dress it up. You could dress it down for just about anything. And it is also perfect for layering. I find that as a vanilla-centric scent, you could use it to like really umph the vanilla factor in another scent or add a twist to another scent. But this is also a fragrance that I think will, get you a ton of compliments because it does have a very strong projection during, I would say, the first 90 minutes, almost 2 hours. It is a very strong projection. You're not going to miss the scent. You're definitely going to pick it up. And it does have a moderate sillage. So now let's go ahead and talk about how Vanilla Aura compares to the one that it reminds us of, or that it reminds me of. So let me just start by saying that when it comes to Guerlain's Vanilla Planifolia 21, to me, that is a scent that is very dense and very rich. Very, not dense in a cloying kind of way or stuffy or too much, no, but it is a dense scent and also very rich. What I find with Vanilla Aura is that Vanilla Aura is not as dense, which I actually welcome. The opening, which has that citrusy quality to it, opens up that scent, not allowing it to be as dense as that you will definitely pick up on in the OG. In addition to that, when it comes to the Guerlain scent, you're going to find that it is quite warm, spicy, and it has quite the number of spices. They have not clearly disclosed which spices, but for sure, I pick up cinnamon, I pick up some cardamom, but there is a collection of spices within that scent profile for sure. The vanilla is present. The vanilla is the star of that fragrance, and the vanilla is the star here. But I do find that the vanilla in the Guerlain fragrance is a bit more refined. Let me explain that. So I'm not saying that this is not a good vanilla. No, this is an excellent vanilla. But if I'm honest with you, Guerlain is known for their exquisite vanilla. And I still get when I wear it on skin, when I've compared it on paper, I definitely get a more refined vanilla. And when I say refined, I'm not talking about it being faint or being less, less intense than what you find in other fragrances. No, it's just their signature. It's just the way that they do vanilla. Here, you are going to find a vanilla that has been beautifully done, but there are little differences. But I will say that the differences when it comes to the vanilla, in my opinion, on my skin and to my nose, are quite negligible. In addition to those differences, when it comes to the original, when it comes to that Guerlain fragrance, that is a musk-based scent. And the musk is to the tune to a 2 to 3, more 3 than 2, where 1 would be, less and 5 would be the most. I would say that it is to the tune of a 2 to 3, more 3 than 2. This is not the case with Aura. I do not pick up on that musk whatsoever. They may not have disclosed it, but I am just not picking it up. So that is a marked difference. The last difference that I do want to speak about is the fact that the Guerlain scent does have a very clear, to my nose and on my skin, and even on paper, it has a very clear balsamic accord. It has a balsamic quality to it, which is almost like part of its signature, part of the signature of that specific scent profile. All in all, I am telling you that when it comes to comparing skin to skin, both scents, I really can tell you that for me, in my opinion, we are looking at 85%, no more of the original. But at the same time, I am going to say that the price points are so different. They're so marked because we are talking about multiple hundreds of dollars in difference between both of these fragrances. So even though you're not getting exactly, because in my opinion, you're not, okay? But even though you're not getting exactly, what the OG offers, this is an incredible value. This is truly an exceptional value with negligible differences that unless you really are looking for the differences, you are not going to notice them, because once this scent reaches the dry down, it's going to give you pretty much almost the same exact experience. Now, a couple of things that I do want to say about this fragrance when compared to the OG is, number one, the floral presence here is a bit more present because, to be honest with you, I don't pick up on florals in the original. They may have them in there, but I don't pick up on florals, period. But here I do pick up on those white florals. As I said in the olfactory journey, they are faint, but they are there. Now, one note that is key in this difference is that note of chocolate. And to me, it's a dark chocolate. It's not a bitter dark chocolate, but it is definitely present. But again, at the dry down, it is so faint that you're most likely not even going to pick it up. But it is definitely there. In addition, I do find this one to be more ambery than the original. Not by much, but it is definitely more ambery. And I think that takes away from the vanilla a little bit, even though the vanilla will always be the star here. I also don't find this one to be warm, spicy, and it definitely does not have that balsamic quality that, again, I pick up in the OG. But at the end of the day, I think this is a solid release from Maison Asrar as it relates to this scent profile. I think, again, that you cannot beat the value because the price point is so different than what you find in the original. Let us know if you tried Vanilla Aura. How is it performing for you? If you have a decant or you own the original fragrance, does it remind you of it? At what point does it remind you of it? Did you experience what I did, which is, that the olfactory journey is really not giving me the OG, but then at the dry down, I am picking it up. Anyway, moving on. All right, so now we are going to go ahead and talk about Vanilla Seduction. And here is the gorgeous bottle. I have to tell you, these bottles are really beautiful. I think that the way that they have been designed, there's just something about them that makes them different than your regular perfume bottle. And again, the weight is very nice. It feels very luxurious. And the details, the details are quite lovely also. Very nicely done. Okay. So let's talk about this one. And we are also going to have a very raw and real discussion on this one. So allegedly, this is one that should remind you of Vanilla 28 from KHADLAJ. Now, before I even start, let me just point out the following. Do you see the hue of this bottle? Okay, that dark. We really don't even know, what the color of the liquid is right now. It may be an ambery looking kind of color because this is an ombre effect here. But I want to show you my Vanilla 28. This Vanilla 28 is a backup bottle. So it was sitting for quite a while. And about a couple of months ago, I pulled it. Okay, and look at the level of dent, by the way. That should tell you how much use I get from this. But I wanted to show you that and bring it to your attention because we're going to have a conversation about this scent. Let me first talk about the olfactory journey, the fragrance itself, its performance, and other details that I know you need, and then we're going to go ahead into a deep comparison. But I did want you to keep in mind the color of the juice of my Vanilla 28 and how this bottle looks. So this is a fragrance that opens up. These two fragrances are just truly incredible, but the opening of this one is just incredible, okay? This opens up with a very strong vanilla immediately. I get vanilla immediately, okay? This fragrance has not had a chance to sit and it is already delivering. So that alone, for both fragrances, by the way, has me extremely impressed. But Vanilla Seduction opens with a blast of vanilla. While I had an Aura, an opening that brought other notes and accords, you know, to the fold, I am telling you that this one opens with a more present vanilla. At that, there's also a white florals presence that you cannot deny in this opening. I don't get any fruitiness. I know that the note of plum, if I recall correctly, has been disclosed, but I don't get it in the opening, but I will get it later. So let's keep talking. As the journey continues, you are going to notice that the vanilla now has like a caramelly facet to it. And to me, that is more of a function of tonka bean, not necessarily of vanilla and caramel. Is there caramel in this fragrance? Yes. Yes, because I do pick it out. But midway in the olfactory journey, for my nose and on my skin and even on paper, it's not necessarily just about the vanilla and the caramel coming together. No, I am getting tonka. There's a warmth that comes with tonka. There's that vanilla caramelly effect that I always talk to you about. That is what I get midway in the olfactory journey. Now, as you're approaching the dry down, you are going to notice that the scent is quite ambery. I did not pick up on that ambery quality in the opening, nor midway in the olfactory journey, but approaching the dry down, I am getting that very ambery scent, still with the vanilla in the forefront and being the complete dominant star of the scent itself. Now, at the dry down, not only is the scent ambery, but I also get a tad of earthiness, curiously enough. And that tad of earthiness is very, very interesting because it comes along with the patchouli. The patchouli does not play a dominant role, but the earthiness that I get is giving me kind of like woodiness. So for me, that is more the patchouli. I could be totally wrong, but that is how I'm picking it up. The musk here is definitely present. It's like a level 3 to 4, more 3 than 4, but it's not animalic in any kind of way. Now at the dry down, I also get a tad of, it's not fruitiness, or maybe it is, but there's just something there that adds a very interesting twist to the scent. And I am loving it. And when I talk to you about the differences that I pick up between this one and the one that it should allegedly remind us of, 28, I will speak to that dry down. But I have to tell you, this scent is absolutely glorious. Now, when it comes to Vanilla Seduction, for me, this is definitely a unisex scent, which also leans a tad to the feminine side. Truly, for me, this one is more unisex than what I find in the OG, and we'll talk about that in a minute and why. But I can definitely see a gent wearing this on its own while also using it to layer. This is a very unisex fragrance, but it does lean a tad to the feminine side. Extremely versatile fragrance because you can use it for any season of the year, any occasion, day or night. You can dress it up, you can dress it down, you can take it to the office, just about anything that you want to do with this scent. And needless to say, it is a beauty for layering, even though I must tell you that this one is so special that I don't even think I would really want to layer with it because the scent alone is very, very captivating. Although it hasn't had a chance to sit, it is performing very well because consistent with Aura, it is giving me a full day wear to the tune of 7 hours, but the projection here is definitely at the 2-hour mark, if not exceeding it a little bit. And it also gives me a moderate sillage. This is one that has not garnered me any compliments, but it is a scent that I can smell on myself clearly all throughout the wear, even though towards the end of the day, it does become a very intimate skin scent. All right, so now let's talk about how does Vanilla Seduction compare to the one that it should allegedly remind you of, which is Vanilla 28. And I want to start by saying a couple of things. So when it comes to Vanilla 28, there have been so many other fragrances that have been launched, within this year that should allegedly remind you of it. And some of them truly will remind you to the tune of 90%. But this one will not remind you at the dry down to the tune of 90%. This one will remind you probably 85% also, because let me tell you why. While you are going to get that exact same scent profile, this one is richer, denser. It's like the more mature version of Vanilla 28. Now, when I say mature, I don't mean that it is dated. I don't mean that this is just for older fam members or older people. Has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the denseness and like the overall vibe of the fragrance itself. It is a denser and more mature version of Vanilla 28, where Vanilla 28 to some may be, for a younger crowd. I've actually heard that from certain fan members, which I don't agree, but hey, or some feel that it's great for layering, but that's about it. That's not how you're going to feel with this one. This is a richer, denser version. And that is why at the beginning, I made it a point to show you, which I'm going to show you again, to show you my bottle of Vanilla 28, because it's had a chance to sit for so long. And like any good vanilla fragrance, it has changed. The juice, color, the hue has changed. It has deepened tremendously. And this one, although we can't see the juice, I think that the bottle is designed to tell you the story, because there is definitely something in here. I don't know if it's the plum. I don't know what is it, but there is a very dense, bordering on sexy vanilla going on in this bottle. I am telling you, this scent is dense, is rich, it's more mature, it makes more of a statement. It is sexy, and it is a fragrance that is versatile because you can use it just about any occasion. All right, fam, so we've reached the end of this review, and I hope that I was able to answer all of your questions. If there's any question that I did not answer that you really need to know before deciding if you want to pick up any of these two fragrances, then please let me know. You know where to find me, and I will try to answer the best way possible. But what I can tell you is that I am definitely very impressed with Vanilla Seduction and also with Vanilla Aura. Vanilla Aura is the one that really left me jaw-dropped, because I never thought that I would find the day in which I would actually find another scent, regardless of what type of fragrance it was, that could actually compete to a certain extent with my vanilla, with my Guerlain Vanilla Extrait. Like, truly, I really did not expect that. So that was kind of jaw-dropping, but it was also quite nice because I knew that I could come and share that with you. When it comes to Vanilla Seduction, I am so impressed because this is really a sexy vanilla. That is not easy to come by. Typically, when you have a sexy vanilla scent, it has other notes and accords that compete with the vanilla, but no, this fragrance is all about the vanilla, but at that, it does have that density and that richness and that darkness that brings on that sexy feel and vibe for sure. This to me is a scent that you can wear for just about any occasion. Again, personally, I don't think that I would use it for the summer, but that's really up to you. Remember our motto, use what you want, when you want, and how you want. Anyway, I hope that this was enjoyable for you. As always, thank you so much for hanging with me today, and I will see you all in the next video.